Hammaga assalomu alaykum. Ismim Ja'far Sadriddinov. Everest Sergeli manzilida IELTS instruktor bo'lib faoliyat yuritaman. IELTS bo'yicha overall natijam 8 va speaking bo'yicha 8,5. Bugungi videoda IELTS speaking part 1 savollariga qay tartibda javob berish, ekzaminatorlar sizlardan aslida nimani xohlashadi va u narsaga qanday erishish mumkinligi haqida gaplashib o'tamiz. Undan keyin esa men sizlarga speaking part 1 bo'yicha bir necha mavzuda speaking sample answerlar ko'rsatib beraman. Boshlashimdan oldin aytishim kerak bo'lgan narsa, bu videomiz ingliz tilida olib boriladi va videodagi qaysidir qismini tushunmagan bo'lsangiz, kommentariyada yozib qoldirishingiz mumkin. For starters, let's talk about the IELTS speaking test format. There are 3 parts to the test and it lasts 11 to 40 minutes. Part 1. Part 1 is when an examiner invites you to the room and checks your ID to check if he's got the right person. Then he's going to basically ease you into the process of the test because you're gonna be feeling like very nervous and anxious and stuff. So some warm up to switch from your native language, be it Russian or Uzbek, is definitely needed. There are going to be introduction questions related to, for example, work and studies, which is what I usually get during my exams, or he could ask you about your hometown as well. And then there are going to be 2 to 3 sets of different topics related to you and your life specifically. The thing about the part 1 is that it might have most of the students might have this wrong thinking that part 1 doesn't really matter and it's not assessed. However, it is wrong. Yes, it does have less effect to this overall score that you get when compared to, for example, part 2 and part 3. However, it is the first introducing part of the test which you need to crack in order to impress the examiner and to make sure that you have a good start so that the examiner is going to know where your level is at from the very beginning. When it comes to part 2, it's a long run. It's a long turn when you have 1 to 2 minutes to talk about a topic you'll be given in the test and you have 1 minute to prepare. Examiner allows you to use some notes and a pencil and he says when you need to stop. So basically it's a part which requires your storytelling skills to be applied. And the last part of the test, which we will not be discussing in today's lesson, is part 3, where you have a much deeper conversation on more abstract and complex topics as opposed to part 1. Here you're not going to be asked any personal questions, but they're going to be more of a global, questions that need you to provide your hypothesis on something. Delve deeper into cause and effect, give out reasoning for everything that you say, looking at things from a bigger picture, from a helicopter view, right? So that's how the format of the test is structured. Just like I said, the whole test will last for 11 to 40 minutes, but first of all, let's start from part 1, which I think is a good way. It's a good chance to let the examiner know what you are after. So if you have a good head start, then the examiner is probably going to be thinking to himself, oh, this guy is pretty decent and he's going to get like at least 7 if he maintains the same pace and shows these skills consistently in other parts as well. And I like to compare part 1 to a video game where level 1 is always the easiest one. And the thing about the games is, some of them have coins that you collect. And in part 1, the thing that you need to do is to collect as much coins as possible. So I've heard people say that you need to provide simple answers in your part 1. Don't try to overcomplicate your vocabulary or your answers. Yeah, that's true. But for band scores of 7.5 and above, you really need to, emphasize that you've got that knack for the language. So what should you do in part 1? The thing that I want you to do in part 1 is to talk a lot, to show as much of a vocab as you can, to show off the grammar that you've got, but to be precise as well, to give direct answers, to give, 2 extra bits of information that would develop your answer, And yeah, keep it not as short as like I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds. It really depends on the pace of your speech and other factors. But part one is a golden chance to impress your examiner, and you don't want to fail it. When it comes to the practice ideas on how you can improve your part one with time, how you can feel more comfortable and actually improve your overall speaking, the number one top advice I give to my students is that they need to talk to their voice assistant on their phone, because most of the people are too reluctant or too, not open enough to have their speaking partners. So if you don't have one, it is definitely for you. You need to talk to your phone's voice assistant, or alternatively, we have artificial intelligence everywhere. So a ChatGPT is a good option as well. You need to talk to your voice assistant on the topics that you're given. And as we all know, there's IELTS Speaking Assistant application out there, which has 30 readily available topics that will definitely appear on the test day. So what you could do is simply write a prompt into your ChatGPT saying that you want it to generate 10 questions on the topic of, for example, computers. Another thing that you can do to improve your speaking part one is to always have those topics by yourself, maybe in your phone, maybe somewhere else, like on paper or notebook, and you want to talk about this topic, ask different questions in your head, like before you go to bed or when you wake up, because talking in your head is basically what we call thinking. And when you think about those topics a lot, then you're going to be getting active vocabulary out of there. And you will definitely feel confident when you talk about these topics during the exam procedure as well. And lastly, I would say there are plenty of YouTube speaking samples that I suggest you give a watch to. And the atmospheres they create there is just like during the exam. So you will definitely be aware of what's going to wait for you, how the native speakers tend to answer questions, what kind of language do they use, and that would be 3 pieces of advice you need to follow for you to get a good score for part 1. I work at a private educational sector. I teach English and help students get their standardized tests on English proficiency. I believe that I like to serve a social purpose, and I believe that English opens doors for the young generation to get their further education abroad. And when they do so, they can bring our state, nation to even greater heights. Well, I dreamt of becoming many things, honestly, and as I matured, I understood that all those things were unimaginable and unrealistic. First, I wanted to become a superhero, as I used to watch a lot of Marvel cartoons. Later on, I wanted to become a policeman because I thought that it'd be, a very intriguing job. I like to take risks. But later on, I settled on being a teacher because the wage is good, and I like to teach people something new every day. Well, my free time, I tend to read some books, or I can give some movies a watch, or I could simply hang out with my friends outside. Well, last weekend, my old friend came back from China. He graduated the university, so we met up. We had a nice chat that lasted for hours. And we had a cup of coffee, and we had a great time. I believe it is. Weekends come around only once a week, and considering how hectic the workload might be during the weekdays, you really want to get the chance to, take it easy a bit and stay settled and spend some more time with your family to balance your work and real life, and that's what I usually do. Yes, I'm actually a big fan of science fiction movies, and the most recent one that I've given a watch to was called Interstellar. And I like the plot was really, moving, and the characters did their jobs well. And there's also a morale to this story, which you only get to know by the end of the film, which is why it's so intriguing. Yeah, I believe it is. If it wasn't for the knowledge of the stars, we would still be thinking that those bright spots in the sky are angels, which is absolute nonsense. And I think that the idea of a star being born or dying, in other words, exploding, is amazing and certainly deserves scientists' attention. Well, it has to be serious. It's the brightest star ever recorded up till now. And I also use it as an analogy to female size in my poems sometimes. And it is a very beautiful star, and I know its position, so anytime I want to enjoy stargazing, I simply take my mini telescope from AliExpress and give it a go. Ushbu video sizga manzur bo'ldi degan umiddamiz va mavzu yuzasida savollar bo'ladigan bo'lsa, kommentariya sektionida yoki meni kanalimga o'tib bemalol so'rayverasiz.